So now we know how to render content to a page, but as you saw, it was static content. That is, the content that was rendered was unchanging. In this section, we're going to learn how to make components that customize themselves based on options or properties that we provide to the component. Now, sorry to fall back to the cookie cutter analogy again, but it serves us pretty well here. If a class is our cookie cutter, and instantiating a class creates a instance, which is like our cookie, then the properties that we provide are like the sprinkles or icing on top of the cookie. The class still behaves the same, just as the cookie still has, and the cookie still has its shape, but the additional properties we provide give it a slightly different look, just as icing or sprinkles would. So to illustrate this, we're going to expand our Hello World example. Use Hello World as kind of a template. We are going to turn it into something else a little bit different though. So to begin, let's copy over our project folder. You can either do it in the console or just do a good old copy paste. And we're going to call this one badge. So now we've got badge. We will open it up in our code editor. And let's also, before we forget, open up the index HTML. And this will still be, of course, our Hello World example. So now we have it in our code editor. And here's our Hello World example. So before we write any code here, we're going to bring in the Bootstrap CSS framework. And the CSS we're really just going to use so that we've got something that looks a little bit more pretty than some of the default styling. And we're also going to use some of the HTML in Bootstrap to kind of serve as a template for ourselves here. So we'll open up a new tab and we'll just search for Bootstrap. And it should be the first result on here, getbootstrap.com. We'll visit it. Right in the middle, click download Bootstrap. And we're going to do the easy way. We're just going to copy paste this link tag right here. So we're not going to actually download the CSS file. We're just going to link to it. So we'll come over to our index.html file and in the head, paste it, and we should be good to go. All right. So let's take a look at what we want to build this time. If we come back over to the Bootstrap site and we go back up to the top, there's components. Click on components. And on the sidebar, maybe about 10 items down is a badges section. So click on badges, and here we go. So we're going to build a button that looks like this right here. So imagine that we're building, say, an email inbox. We might have several buttons that look like this. They might kind of have text like this one. It might say, inbox or sent or spam or tagged or what have you. So we're going to have some text, and then for each of those inboxes or those email folders, you might have a number that tells you the number of emails that are in there. So when we look at this component or this button right here, if we wanted to bring this over into React and make it a widget or a component, there's really two variables in here that we want to abstract out or provide to it as options. Whenever we use this button, we want to have the ability to change the text messages and the number, because we might want messages to instead say inbox or spam or sent, and the number needs to be able to change to reflect how many emails are in that particular folder here. So we're going to start with this HTML right here as kind of our starting point. So we're going to copy all this. So I'm going to Control-C, copy, and then bring it over. And we're going to delete our existing JSX right here, and we're going to replace it. All right, great. Now, the next thing we need to do is we're no longer really making a Hello World component here. We're making a badge component. So let's do some renaming. I'm going to rename this as badge. And then when we create element, we're no longer creating Hello World. We're going to create an instance of badge. Okay. As a quick aside here, whenever we have these class names like Hello World or badge, classes are traditionally saved to variables with a capitalized first letter. So it'll be capital B badge, capital B badge, or capital H Hello World, and so on. So now that we've got the new HTML in here, we've renamed our class, we can go back over to our index.html file. And all right, there we go. So We correctly have the HTML. It appears to be a button. It correctly says messages because that's just the static HTML messages and the static number 4 that we provided in there. But our button looks nothing like this button, even though we should have our CSS. Let's check the DOM. And yep, looks like we correctly got our style sheet in here. So what's going wrong here? Well, we're going to find out in the next section. So stick around. If you want to take a shot at it, check out the console, read some of the errors in here, and see if you can figure out what our issue might be. Otherwise, if you're not sure, just go on to the next section.